Welcome back, or welcome if you're a first time viewer. On this podcast, we usually talk about wrestling, paranormal stories, and shoe releases. If that's something that you're into, subscribe and let's get into it. The wrestling topic this week is going to be quick finishes. Lately, I've been noticing that a lot of these main card matches have been ending out of nowhere, and they have weird finishes and pins that absolutely don't make sense. For example, Sammy's match with Cody and Gunther. I mean, out of nowhere, he rolled up Cody and it was like 1, 2, 3. I don't think anybody really understood what just happened. I mean, I went silent. I really didn't understand. I was like, did Sammy just win? Like, I understand he's a great wrestler and it's long overdue, but like, it was just out of nowhere. When they do this, I feel like what the back room is trying to do, what Gorilla is trying to do, is they're trying to stump people because there's so many spoilers and so many leaks online that people are just letting everything go and WWE's product is getting ruined. I feel like what they need to do is go with their gut and go with what the people want. Fans don't want to see rinse and repeat all over again. We don't want to see Hulk Hogan reborn. We don't want to see John Cena reborn. We don't want to see Booker T reborn. We want to see fresh, exciting new gimmicks and new storylines. I understand that you can only pit someone against someone so many times, but you know, that Drew McIntyre and Fatu match where they were out in the parking lot, that was some good stuff. It reminded me of a little bit of the Jeff Hardy, Matt Hardy era where it went out back and it was crazy and there was car crashes. Nowadays, they're just not really doing that a lot. And I think they need to go back to that creative block. You know, Bloodline. Here we go. Now they got rid of Solo's crew. Solo's crew abandoned him, and now Solo's all by himself. And now he's begging LA Knight for help? Like, what? You're totally diminishing this guy's character. And now, what are you going to do? Have him go back to the bloodline, and now it's going to be the bloodline rules for the next 5 years? It's super frustrating because the fans just don't want this. I mean, if you listen, they're not really the fans are not going all out for Roman Reigns and his bloodline. They're not going all out for Jey Uso or Jimmy Uso. The only reason why they go off and go crazy is because they got good music. Like Jey Uso, I mean, come on. His music gets everybody hyped. I just feel like they need to start stepping it up a little bit. The product is definitely hurting because of what they're doing. And it's not like they don't have fresh ideas. I'm sure fresh ideas are pitched every day, but they're shot down for these same old stories. Now, a little bit more news on Sami Zayn. Yes, he won the championship. Yes, it was a curveball out of the left. But a lot of us that were watching this kind of thought like Cody is going to win and he's going to retain. I had this hunch because they were in Saudi that this could be a chance where they give Sami Zayn the belt. Now, unfortunately, I don't think this is going to be a long title run for Sami. I feel like Brock Lesnar is going to take that belt from Sami, and at SummerSlam, Oba is going to challenge Brock for that belt and for his career. And I feel like that's where Brock is going to retire and give up the belt. I don't foresee him going long with this championship, Brock Lesnar, and I definitely don't see Sami going long. I would love to see Sami have a good reign, but we're 5 weeks away from SummerSlam, guys. Like, for real, I don't think that this storyline is going to stick with Sami Zayn. I think he's going to come out, do an open challenge. Brock Lesnar is going to come out in some way, shape, or form, and Sami's going to get demolished, and it's going to be him with the belt. That's why they didn't have it on Gunther or on Cody, because I feel like that would have been a if Brock would have beat Cody fast or Gunther fast, it would have totally like said, okay, well Gunther and Cody have been champions before and they've had long reigns, so how did Brock just come up and beat him? He could barely beat Oba. So I just feel like that's where this is going because I don't foresee Oba challenging any one of these guys that are champions. Sami Zayn would be quick work, quick work for Oba. And also, Roman Reigns, that feud is not ready yet. I also want to touch base really quick also on the fact that a lot of people on the internet are circulating rumors that Oba tapped when he was getting the sleeper hold put on him. He did not tap. He did the Hulk Hogan thing where he pounded on the mat to get the crowd hype. And the crowd got hyped and he got up. Everybody's crying and whining. Oh, Oba tapped, Oba tapped. He did not tap. His eyes went wide open like he got crazy angry and he got up. And that is typical of a Hulk Hogan comeback. So I'm just saying everybody needs to chill out about that. He didn't tap, and it wasn't a botch. It was a botch on fans' part because they didn't understand what was going on. If you have any questions, comments, any theories that are going on in your guys' head, comment in the section and let me know. So for our paranormal section, I'm going to go into a little story that I have from my childhood. And this story doesn't necessarily have paranormal involvement, so to speak, but I definitely had an eerie feeling and I felt like someone was watching me when this situation was happening. When I was younger, I had a couple friends and they were into off roading, and of course, they all had Jeeps and thought they were invincible. And every single opportunity that these Jeeps had to prove that they were invincible, they failed incredibly. But this one time was a failure. We were off roading, and the Jeep was in the woods. We went down this one trail, and it went up and then went down like a ramp. And when we went down, we went probably maybe a half a mile into the woods, and the Jeep got stuck in some mud. And I told the guy, "Hey, don't go through that. Don't. You're gonna get stuck." And what happened? We got stuck. So him and his wife decided to go out, and I would stay with the Jeep. And this was pretty late at night, so it was like super dark. Mind you, I'm wearing white jogging pants and white tennis shoes. So like I'm in the middle of the woods by myself. They leave. I have a flashlight because there weren't cell phones like that back then that had flashlights. So and a lighter and my cigarettes. So I end up going out of the Jeep and like called for them for like probably about 10 minutes and they never came back and they left me in the woods. So I tried to find my way out and somehow I got turned around. I mean, it wouldn't have been hard because it was really, really dark at night and there's no lights in the woods. So it was kind of easy to get turned around. I ended up seeing this kind of driveway trail with grass in the middle of the tire treads. I went down and followed this trail and it led into this weird house. It was all boarded up. It looked like it was probably 2 to 3 thousand square feet. It was a bigger home, and it had a lot of windows up front, so it made me think there was a lot of bedrooms there. So I kind of went back a little bit because I was like, this is kind of weird. Why is this big abandoned home in the middle of the woods out of nowhere? I mean, we were not in the country by no means. We were far out, but not in the country. So it just didn't make sense that this house had been forgotten about and all these woods were around it. And but it did make sense to me once I saw the house. I understood why that trail was there because then obviously that trail led to that home back in the day when the house was being lived in. So I being nervous and scared in the woods, I figured I would try and get into this house and I don't know, maybe the house still had power, maybe I could find a phone, maybe I could go through the back of the house and it would lead me into a neighbor or a populated area. So as I got closer to the door, I could tell the door was like kind of kicked open before and it was like nailed shut, but right next to it was the side windows to the door and I was able to squeeze through there and I squeezed through the window and I looked inside and it was, I mean, it was everything you would imagine. It was everything was left there. There was spider webs, cobwebs, maybe a couple dead birds I remember being by the front door, some dead pigeons on the stairway, and it smelled pretty bad. I mean, it was closed up, a lot of boarded up windows, some were unboarded, but I went in there and there was a lot of course, a lot of satanic. paint all over the place and the pentagram on the ground. And, it's just common stuff that kids did back then. And when we were young, we just did stupid stuff. So I ended up going into the front door. And when I went into the front door, through that front window, I could tell that the house had not been visited by anyone in a long time. There was no footprints on the ground, lots of dust, lots of cobwebs. So I made my way into the kitchen and I could see that there was a phone. And I tried to open, pull the phone off the hook, and there was no dial tone. So the phone didn't work. And at this point, I started flicking switches, and there was dull power where it would kind of zoom on and off and not really stay on. So I was thinking, okay, I'm gonna go to the back of the house. I'm gonna try and get out of here. Maybe this will butt up to someone's property or something. So I go through the back of the house and I try to get out the door, and I mean, I cannot get any of the doors to open. Whether they were nailed shut, glued shut, just old, I don't know, but I just literally could not get out of the doors. Now, I know that at the same time I was hearing some noises coming from the upstairs, and the upstairs had another staircase that led up to another level. But that was just in the back of the house, and I think it was more like maybe like a pool house kind of thing, but it was on the third level, so it wasn't a pool house, but that's what kind of it reminded me of, like maybe an upstairs apartment. So I went and I just started looking around the house, trying to figure out how to get out. um, After a while, I just couldn't figure out any doors, so I took a chair and I broke one of the windows, and I got out that window, ended up cutting myself. And when I was climbing out the window, I could have swore I saw a shadow walk past the room that I was in, and it gave me the chills. So I hurry up, and I think that's why I cut myself, because I was like squirming to get out fast. So I got out fast, and when I dumped onto the lawn in the back of the house, there was this big, huge in ground pool that was all covered up by weeds and water and just nasty. And there was a garage back there, and there was another trail. As I'm standing there looking in the backyard, I definitely felt like there was a presence or something in that house. I wasn't too sure. I wasn't willing to go back in. So the bravest I was I actually went up the staircase outside and went up to that little apartment, but it was all locked up and boarded up, so you couldn't really see in there. My guess was is maybe the floor was even decayed because it was boarded up pretty well. So at this point, it's like 1 o'clock in the morning, and I'm still not hearing no one calling my name. So I figured I'm gonna go. I'm gonna get out of here. I don't know. I don't at this point. I don't even know how I'm gonna get home. Okay, because I'm abandoned. Okay, they just left me. So I go out through around the pool and I hop the fence, and it was like a gate, and the trail went further. So I went past the trail, and the trail led me all the way out to a main road. Well, I mean, when I say main road, there was maybe a car every half hour that drove down the road. But it's 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. So I find a payphone and I call their house, and they don't answer, but their roommate answers, and she's like, no, I haven't heard from them at all. And I'm like, well, they left me in the woods, and their Jeep is stuck in the woods. And she's like, that's weird. They have not been back yet. So I told her to come get me, because I was like, I'm not staying in the woods. F this shit. It's creepy, scary. It's dark at night. Now I'm by this main road. So it took her like an hour to come get me, and she finally got me, and she brought me back to the house. Well, I ended up falling asleep on the couch, and when I woke up in the morning, my friend and his wife come back in the front door, and they're like, "Where were you? We were looking for you this whole time." And I'm like, "Bullshit. I left a note in the car on your dashboard with sticky tape telling you that I left. You would have known right away if you would have went back to your Jeep that I left." So I was pretty sore at that, and I was kind of mad. So I told their roommate just to take me home, and because I didn't want them to take me home because I was just pissed. So I ended up going home, and I really didn't hang out with them too much anymore because they were just chaos. But like that night was so intense, being out in the woods between 12 and 2 in the morning. It was just so dark, and I cannot relay to you how dark it is in the woods when there is no houses by you and no streetlights and no nothing. It was just pitch black. I probably fell in the mud probably like 3 or 4 times. I think I even like went through a mud stream a couple times. Let's just say my white sweatpants and my white tennis shoes were trashed. And towards the end, I was panicking because I was getting scared because it was getting later and later. I felt like I was being followed and rushed out of where I was at. So by the time I got to their house, I literally just took my clothes off, took a shower, and laid down on the couch. I was exhausted, mosquito bitten all over the place, and pissed. So that's my paranormal story for the week. Hope you enjoyed it. If you got any stories of your own or any news of any kind, comment in the section. I'd love to hear it. Okay, now we're on to the shoe releases. This is just an update because I gave you a pretty comprehensive list the last time, and it's pretty good. So, and that list is pretty solid because that's from Foot Locker and Champs. So, just tiny update on sneakers. On Friday, July 10th, they're saying they're releasing the Air Jordan 7 Retro Miro, white and multicolor. This is a new shoe theme. I don't know if I like this, and I don't know if I'm necessarily a fan of the sevens, but they'll be out Friday, July 10th, and they will be at $255. I know. Ridiculous. Again, you keep on going up with these prices, and you're just going to outprice your customer base. That's why a lot of these shoes are sitting, by the way. I don't know if you've noticed this, but the releases that are coming out, the only ones that really sold out were the University Blue 5s. And they didn't sell out right away. I'm pretty sure that you can get them in some places in certain sizes. So this is the problem they're having. They're just outpricing themselves. Next, we have an update for Saturday, August 1st, which is the new Air Jordan 1 High OG, which this should be interesting because it's an OG. I haven't seen an OG High yet. And this one's called Love Letter. So it doesn't really say a color, but these are going to be $185. So I'm kind of interested in seeing these. I don't know if I'm going to buy them because they look like they're black and brown. It's black, white, and brown, I would say. So I don't know. We're going to have to see. But the Jordans usually, those AJ ones usually don't sell out. So that's where we're at with the shoe updates. There's nothing really interesting that's going on right now except for the fact that they're just outpricing all these shoes. They're just making them too expensive. And I understand Jordans have always been the higher quality, higher price shoes, but like for real, you guys need to bring it down a little bit, maybe back to 185, 190. You know it takes you 10 cents to make these shoes. Okay? Come on now. It's not like these shoes cost $1 billion to make a year. It's not rocket science. It's just greed, and they're not releasing as much in other categories for the Jordans. So the ones that they do release, they try and hike up the price so they can get their money's worth. Well, that's the podcast for this week. Thanks for watching. If you liked what you heard, then please like, comment, and share with all your friends. Every bit of engagement helps get the word out. If you made it this far into the video, leave a tooth in the comments. And I'll see you all next week.